The first thing you learn when you can't die is how many people will die instead.
Imagine you were immortal. Not invincible, just unable to die. Imagine watching centuries pass while everyone you've ever known fades away, while wars, violence, and suffering seem to follow you wherever you go. You don't seek it, you don't want it, but it always finds you. Now imagine realizing that your immortality isn't even a gift. It's a curse. And worse, it might be the very reason why the world is falling apart. Tonight, we're stepping into a world that doesn't know how to end. A world where time keeps moving and others are forced to move. Where violence isn't searched for, it simply shows up. And where survival doesn't mean you're safe, it just means you're still here. At the center of this story is a man who's been alive for far longer than he should be. He doesn't age, he doesn't escape. And no matter how many times he stands at the edge of death, it never takes him with it. He's learned how to keep moving, how to stay unnoticed, how to live with the aftermath of places he never meant to ruin. Until one night, someone crosses his path who shouldn't exist at all. A presence that doesn't fit the rules of this world. It's a life that feels older than time itself. And a reminder that some stories aren't meant to be survived, they're meant to be finished. This isn't a story about jump scares or things hiding under your bed. It's about what happens when you're forced to live long enough to face the weight of your own existence. Tonight, you're listening to Chapter 1 of a story called Graveless. This is only the beginning. I'll continue uploading chapters as I go. So settle in, put this on in the background, and step into a world where living forever isn't a gift. It's a sentence. In the beginning, the earth was silent. It spun half-formed through blackness, veiled in smoke and water, waiting for the breath of life. And when that breath came, it poured into two figures standing knee-deep in the new soil. Kalen remembered the heat of it, the weight of it. He remembered the way the stars blinked above him, cold, unfeeling, and how he and his brother Avon had looked at each other, too young to carry what they were given.
We were born to build,
Avon said, his hands open to the wide wasteland.
not to break.
Kalen had smiled, uncertain. Avon always spoke of peace, of tending and shaping, of worship through work. Yet the voice from the stars had looked upon Avon with favor, and Kalen with silence. It was Avon who was given the fertile valleys, Avon who was taught the secret names of the animals, Avon whose offerings were accepted with fire from the heavens, while Kalen's wilted on dry ground. And though Avon loved his brother, never boasting, never cruel, Kalen could not unmake the feeling that had taken root deep in his marrow. He was less loved, less worthy, less seen. The resentment was slow, almost tender at first, a shadow stretching longer with every passing year, until one night, under a sky smeared with dying light, Kalen took the staff meant to till the fields and drove it through his brother's heart. He never felt the blow, not truly. But as the soul was removed from his brother, so was a piece of his. The first murder on earth had taken place. What he did remember was the stillness after, the silence where his brother's voice had been, the way the earth itself seemed to hold its breath as if ashamed. And from that silence rose a voice, ancient, burning, not of this world, that spoke his curse into the marrow of his bones.
You shall walk until the world forgets its name. You shall bleed but not die. You shall hunger but never be filled. Marked you will be, feared but never known.
Kalen pulled his coat tighter against the mist and stepped under the jaundiced glow of a gas station sign. His boots were heavy with the miles he had walked. His hands ached from the fights he could not remember. Hunger gnawed at him like an old familiar ghost. He pushed open the door. A bell above the frame rang once, sharp and thin, notifying the clerk someone has entered. The door stuttered closed behind him as the hinges were worn and engulfed in rust. For a moment, the world outside, the freezing mist, the far-off howl of broken engines, was forgotten. Inside, the gas station buzzed under sickly fluorescent lights. A flickering bulb overhead made the shadows twitch against the shelves. The place reeked of cheap coffee, burnt wiring, and loneliness. Kalen moved slowly, measured, the way a man moved when he was used to violence waiting around corners. He scanned the rows of stale chips and expired chocolates. A cooler hummed angrily against the far wall. Behind a thick pane of bulletproof glass, the clerk, a heavier set, balding man, watched him like a dog. Above the clerk's head, nailed crookedly to the wall, was a small wooden cross. It swayed slightly in the artificial breeze of the ORAD fan, adding white noise to the eerie silence. Kalen's eyes touched it for half a second. The clerk's mouth twitched.
The
man cleared his throat, voice cracking.
You need to, make up your mind, sir.
Kalen said nothing. Just grabbed a protein bar off the shelf and turned it over in his hand like he barely remembered what it was. The clerk was uneasy. A bead of sweat ran down his temple. The presence of this man in his store made him feel almost nauseous. His gaze flickered nervously past Kalen to the window, out to the street. Someone else was coming in. Kalen knew the type, the kind drawn like moths to a cursed flame. He peeled a few crumpled bills from his pocket and slid them through the tray at the counter. The clerk flinched as their fingers almost touched. The world was getting dark. And men who carried light, or the scar of judgment, didn't belong anywhere for long. Kalen stuffed the bar into his coat pocket and turned towards the door. That's when the bell rang again. Not from him, from behind, the opposite side. The air changed. He didn't need to turn around to know something foul had stepped into the room. Something hungry, something that smelled the mark. The clerk instinctively ran his hands, fumbling for his revolver under the counter. Kalen closed his eyes for a heartbeat, weary. He could already feel it, the violence stretching its fingers towards him like an old, unwelcomed friend. He turned slowly to meet it. The kid was thin under his oversized black puffer jacket, wild-eyed, maybe 18, maybe 19. A maroon bandana dangling from his back pocket, gang colors. His hand twitched near his belt. A knife? Maybe. Maybe worse. But it wasn't just the street life that brought him here. It was the pool. The ancient, gnawing thing inside Kalen that called to the broken, the bitter, the evil. The kid didn't even know why he wanted to fight. Only that something in his gut howled when he looked at the scar cutting down Kalen's brow.
Hey,
The kid sneered, voice cracking under the weight of fear he didn't understand.
the bag, I want it.
Kalen stared at him, calm, silent. Behind him, the clerk huddled low, mouthing frantic prayers to a god that might or might not be listening tonight. Kalen finally spoke, voice deep, rough as gravel worn by time.
You don't want this, kid. I don't want this.
He said, not angry, almost sorrowful.
Just go home.
The kid's hands shook, anger flaring to hide the bone-deep terror rising in him. He didn't know why this man unsettled him, only that he hated him for it.
I guess I'll just take it.
The kid barked, stepping closer, knife flashing from his belt since he couldn't afford a gun. Kalen sighed. A sound like the wind giving up on a dead tree. When the kid lunged, it was clumsy, wild, desperate. Kalen caught the knife hand with ease, twisting it sharply and impaling it onto the clerk's counter. The boy yelped as his wrist snapped with a wet, cracking pop. Before the kid could scream, Kalen drove a brutal elbow into his ribs, another into his jaw. The boy crumpled to the floor, gasping, bleeding, a sob already building in his throat, blood matching the color of his bandana staining the chipped white tile below him. Kalen stood over him, the weight of centuries pressing down on his spine. He could end it now. One move, one breath. But he didn't. Something soft and aching inside him held him back. The kid staggered up, coughing blood, spitting, clutching his side. And with a last desperate snatch, he grabbed Kalen's bag from the floor and bolted out the door. Gone into the night. Kalen watched him go, unmoving. He felt the loss of the bag like a small ache. Food, clothes, water. Days of careful survival, now running down some broken alley. He turned to the clerk, who peered out from his hiding place.
I'll see myself out.
Kalen said simply. The clerk nodded fast, hands shaking. Kalen adjusted his coat, stepped back into the freezing mist, and disappeared into the dark. It wasn't the first time he's lost everything, and it wouldn't be his last. That concludes Chapter 1. These videos take a pretty good amount of time to make. I do all the editing and voice recording and everything myself. A lot of AI to make the visuals you see. I'm no animator. But you can support by subscribing. And once this channel gets a little traction, then my goal is to actually pay some animators to have the visuals express the stories that I'm telling you. That's ultimately the goal. I want real handmade art, which may in fact make the videos go a little longer, but I think everyone will appreciate some real high quality animation. Thank you for listening, and I'm already working on Chapter 2. So hit that notification bell and give it a listen when it's out.